All right. This is Core Virus and my wife,
Core candy.
and we have Adam one more time. And what's your username?
TLTD Adam.
All right. There's a topic I kind of wanted to discuss is State of Decay 2 is finally announced, and people are confused about the pricing of it. What does everyone think?
Start with Andrea.
There's a lot of games out there that are available that are indie games that are super cheap but they're super awesome. So I don't see what the problem really is. I don't think price point should determine if a game is good or not.
I agree with that.
I think you
The
said it
first
the best
State of
way.
Decay was $20. And then
I
they
actually
added
bought that
DLC.
game.
Yeah.
Originally, I bought that game for her, and then I played it, and then my character died, and I'm like, oh, I'll just respawn. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't even know that that's the same thing happened to me. I didn't even realize that your character died.
Perma. Aw.
Yeah.
Perma's son of a.
I pushed my character like way too much, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I can't respawn this character that I just spent a week on. But
Yep.
I didn't restart the game. I continued. I didn't go, restart, delete the old save and start a new game. It was like, okay, this was a lesson learned.
Indeed. or if I try to be smart, it's I concur. So what I've been hearing how State of Decay 2 is, it's State of Decay 1 more fine-tuned. The map is like 4 times the size, from what I'm hearing, and it's State of Decay 1 more fine-tuned, bigger map, potentially more zombies on the screen, and it is 4-player co-op, optionally. I can't see that being a bad thing, though.
No,
What
I
do you
don't
think,
think
Adam?
so. And I think they've taken their time, and I think they've done everything that people wanted from the first game. A lot of people wanted the co-op in it. That was the biggest request, and I think it was just a little too daunting to add it to the game that was already engineered.
Yeah, they were saying the game mechanic the coding would just screw up too much to add
Well,
co-op.
they
to
had
it.
to add a network code. Sorry to overspeak on you.
No.
They had to add network code, and it would just not work 100% if they did that.
Absolutely.
And they didn't want to
I
put
get
a
that.
half-ass measure.
Well, I think that's better. Don't release your game if it's not gonna, don't break it.
Or look at it logically, as you said, don't break it. If you're looking at it and people are requesting this and you just can't make it work cleanly, then don't.
Yeah.
Well, how I personally see State of Decay is that I think it would be a very interesting game to stream because it's so random and unpredictable to a point. It'd be interesting to watch.
Depends on how deep they go. I'd like to see what they bring to the plate with what you and 3 other people can do. It could be
Yes.
interesting, and if they're adding any mixer integration to it, I'm not sure what Microsoft's got going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they could do something really interesting with Mixer, but from what I'm hearing, how the co-op works, you send out a flare, and then your friends online get an invite, or if they're playing in the game, they get a pop-up saying that you request help. But I guess
Oh, I
pretty
didn't know
soon
that.
IGN's gonna release how it's supposed to work because they, I assume, paid the rights to get first dibs on everything. And gameplay's gonna
Interesting.
come out on the 7th, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yep. They already made a 40-second clip of new gameplay footage. I already saw a few people complaining. So I said, they already have 40 seconds of gameplay.
And it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't the trailer pretty much just all gameplay? Like the trailers that I've seen? I don't think anything was like...
Yeah.
For the most
CGI
part, yeah, but
cutscene?
Yeah.
it's all in-game. It's far different saying in-engine and in-game. Two huge different things. In-engine is where they fine-tune everything. In-game is what it is. Just different
Action
camera
render.
view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm actually on IGN's website right now, which when I saw it on my cell phone, I was actually laughing at it. Because one of their main points, their headline is State of Decay to release date, price announce, IGN first. And when you click on it, it says, price is nice, the zombies you'll counter, ? Not so much. And they
a good heading.
never get into that. Like, what the hell? The terrible heading. And they don't actually touch it once.
No. I don't mind that it's $30. I don't mind that there's an Ultimate Edition for $49 or $50, whatever it may be.
Which is the one
As
where
Andrea said,
$60 Canadian. $60 Canadian.
$60 Canadian, exactly what a game used to cost.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that should warrant it being good or bad. I think I'm just looking forward to it.
There's been games that people have spent over $200-300 on the limited special editions, and they've been absolutely crap. Like, you know, so you can't say that numbers mean anything in this day and age.
There are people that have spent hundreds of dollars on Candy Crush Saga or Clash Royale.
And those are free to play.
That's right.
There is a ton of people who play mobile games. That's a completely different topic, but it's a huge income. That actually segues into something else, but I kind of want to see it okay. I'm fine with the price. Like, to me, I'm like, I was going to buy it anyways, but it's not going to change the game on if it was good or not. If it was $70 or $30.
We were expecting to pay over $100, for the limited edition. Because,
Yeah,
we
that's
talked
what
about it last
these
not
games
uncommon.
are. Yeah, which is not uncommon.
We talked about it last week, and Andrea was saying, we're gonna get all the DLC, right? And I'm like, I guess so.
Well, I played all the DLC for the State of Decay 2, or the first one.
Mm.
I paid the money, a little bit of money to, play the extra features and stuff.
Yep.
So
It's
And
a
it was
very
well worth it.
unique game.
it was
Yeah.
definitely.
She played it more than I did. You beat it twice,
I've
didn't
beaten
you?
it twice. Yeah, I've beaten it twice. With different. Actually, the second time I pretty much only lost the people that you lose during the gameplay.
During the main story, right?
Yeah, during the main story, there's a few people that you just cannot not lose, which is fine.
That's another thing I want to bring up. State of Decay, the biggest thing was the story. People liked it, but it didn't really explain much.
Well,
State
there
of Decay
wasn't
2, I
much
have a
to
feeling.
go on. Like, they didn't
No,
really
that's
know
right.
what was going on. Even the army guys didn't know what was going on.
And at the end of State of Decay explains a little bit, but it's one of those things is that I don't believe they're actually going to emphasize a ton on the story, because putting a ton of time into the story, making cutscenes, making a writing work with everything is where
Well,
the
there
time
wasn't
and process
really
comes in.
any cutscenes. Like, when you went to the next mission, you pretty much were there. There was no, cutting out into, some dramatic movie scene. It was just, here's the next level, and here's your characters that you get to play with.
From what I remember
Which I
reading
liked.
a while ago, was they were saying that they kind of want a game that you have your own story to tell when they have their story there, but you have to dig for it.
Yeah,
Which is
if
not
you
a
do a
bad
lot
thing.
of the extra side quests, you get more of kind of what was going on. Like you find out that the army was involved, but they weren't telling all the guys that went there to help what exactly was going on, and a bunch of them ended up drinking the water, which was contaminated and turned a bunch of them.
You ruined it.
Spoilers.
Sorry,
Five-
spoilers, spoilers. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, it's all good. It's a 5-year-old game. I'm
It's
pretty
a
sure it's out of
5-year-old
that
game
time frame.
if you don't know.
You know, when I remember the day that game came out, and I was reading an interview afterwards, a few days after, and they said they didn't know what the game would do because they said they put permadef'd in, and they didn't know how players would react, and they didn't know how much it would sell, so they put it on Xbox Live Arcade, and within the first day, it sold like I think it was close to 1 million copies. It was over 100,000 within the first few hours, and they purposely put a stat meter just so they can see how many people were playing. And they were surprised. That game sold over 1 million. And it was well deserved though.
Absolutely.
I enjoy zombie games, and I was looking forward to something that was different. The base building, there wasn't too much of that, and I didn't like that, you were kind of limited in what you could do at your base. And you
And
could
you
only
could
have one
hoop
base at a
yourself.
time.
Do you like a game that helps with your OCD?
Don't we
This is
all?
the game for you.
Yeah.
Like, I hear some people say, oh, the game was really slow. Yeah, it could be really slow. I remember getting stuck in situations where my car blew up, and I was stuck in a horde. I had to climb up a tower, and I had to wait. So I had to make a distraction, jump down the tower, run, hide in the bush, and just keep going. I thought I was going to lose that character, but he made it back. And that story alone was absolutely brilliant. It was one of those things where you feel like, oh, I cannot lose this person. And that's what made that game super unique.
It forced you to use other characters as well, which I liked. You're like, oh, this person's tired, now I need to go use this other person. So you were, you got to use different ones and got to feel out kind of their skills and their strengths.
Yeah, and then you use certain people for certain things, what they were good for. And sometimes it was best just to avoid them in general. All the Zeds.
Yeah.
Alright, Adam, what do you have to say?
All I'm really looking forward to is the co-op part. Really, I enjoyed the game as it was, but if you add the co-op to it, oh, it's my kind of game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because as you said, you're not as a player versus player type, but more
No, I want to play with people.
Yeah. That's some
Yeah.
of the most fun you have, is with people. I like multiplayer games, but I also like playing co-op that are sort of single-player driven. Just so you can play with people. But
Absolutely.
say Decay is going to be unique because I have to bring my own character in multiplayer, and if he dies, he's dead. And
There's
that's
so
gonna be
much risk in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happens if you lose your character based on the decisions that one of your friends makes?
Oh
Oh,
god.
friendship ruiner. It's a friendship ruiner game.
You permadeath me.
What
But
have
you
you
can
done
choose,
to me?
You can choose though if you do want to sacrifice yourself for your friends. I think they were saying something about having that choice available to players.
You can make a distraction so the rest can get out and you try to survive somehow. I can see that happening quite a bit. If you get surrounded enough, one person can actually make a distraction so the three get alive. But you have to try to fight for it. I can actually see that happening quite often.
Yeah, you can be the sacrifice for the team.
Yeah. And guess who that will be? This guy. who betrayed his two friends and has two thumbs.
This guy.
Who got loot for his own community. This guy. And I'm curious how the multiplayer will work, but that was the last thing I heard, is that they're supposed to like do a flare and send like a warning or
Well, if that's
invite
if you need
friends
help.
nearby.
Yeah, and if your friends are
Yeah.
like online, but you can like create
It's
a
supposed to be
community
drop
and
in,
stuff
drop
together,
out, sorta.
which is
Yeah.
nice. Because if you're like, oh my goodness, I have to go, you're not stuck.
It'd be
you
really
know?
interesting if you could trade, like where my community's weak and you have a bunch of stuff in that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they're not
Ooh,
saying
blended
much
communities?
about. They're not saying much
Yeah.
about everything.
I haven't talked about that though.
We might get some
Haven't
news
really-
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see what comes out tomorrow. As to kind of like what
Very
their
much.
plans are for everything.
Yeah.
It's you've been waiting for this game for a while, but it seems like it's going to be a fun game. I told someone on Twitter today that it's not going to be the prettiest looking game, but it might be one of the more fun games to play.
I don't know what videos I've seen look really nice. Like I'm not
Oh
too
yeah.
much into like it has to be the best quality, you know. As long as I can shoot and see well, then you know.
It
Yeah, but see, this is the
egregious.
same argument that people are talking about Sea of Thieves. It doesn't look great. I think it looks phenomenal, but a lot of people
There's-
don't like that.
Cartoonish
Cartoony.
look? Well, Sea of Thieves is very unique art style to a point, I'd say. Some areas almost look realistic, and where some don't, but they complement each other's art style. It's like they took two arts and put it into one, and it complements
Yep.
each other really nicely. It's hard to put my finger on what I would call it, because it's not cell shaded, but it has
No.
a rare, rare developer tone to it. You're like, yes, that's definitely a rare game. It's like reminds me a bit of like Connect Sports type of art style. They kind of took that and perfected it more, which no one ripped
you've
on
got a
the
lot-
actual art star in that.
A lot of people from the other camp bash it for that.
People are always gonna find something wrong with the game. That's the thing.
Not
If
to
it
throw
isn't
anybody under
price
a bus or
point-
anything.
No, but
I don't like you because you play on different platform. And my response is cool.
yeah.
But I personally think some are slightly overreacting on the price tag of State of Decay. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
I think you're absolutely right.
Eventually, I want to talk about Halo 5. How some people, not tonight though, but soon, how some like to disagree on the Spartan abilities. But I will leave that for another day.
I think
That's another
with
conversation.
State of Decay, though, they've made it so the game can be available to more people with the price point, which is smart.
That brings it. Ooh, I'm looking at some new State of Decay screenshots, but that brings up a good point. Like Game Pass, some people are saying like, oh well, Game Pass would probably influence the price tag of State of Decay, which is not true at all. The
Not
whole
at
point
all.
of Game Pass is get people who would normally not put out money to actually try the game. And
Yeah.
then be like, hey, I like this game. I feel like I should own it. I will buy it. Either not now, but eventually. I see a lot of people doing that with Sea of Thieves, though. Some people will just stay in Game Pass. Either way, it's going to generate.
But yeah,
that
you
was
still
sort
have
of
to
the whole
pay
point.
for Game Pass to be able to play the game.
And
Absolutely.
Game Pass, I think, is a brilliant idea. Like some people who would not touch State of Decay. Who was it? Hunter. We told him you have to play State of Decay, and he got Game Pass for the 1 month. And did he play it or not?
No, he didn't play it, I don't think.
No, but we made him play Sunset Overdrive. Because we gave him the
Oh,
Game
yeah.
Pass code, and we said the only reason we give this to you, you have to play Sunset Overdrive, and eventually State of Decay. But he played Sunset Overdrive and got addicted to that and played it.
Yeah. He liked that. That was a good game. That was another game that kind of... I think a lot of people, once they played it, you love it. It's one of those games you have to play to actually appreciate.
And the sad part is a
Definitely.
lot of the community didn't get into it.
No.
Well, it's a different topic, but State of Decay Sunset Overdrive was a very hard game to market properly. 'Cause even when they were marketing it, I'm like, I knew what it was, but how do you explain it? Here's an open world game with
That makes fun of itself.
semi-zombies that breaks the fourth wall with crazy weapons that makes fun of itself. How do you market that properly?
Not well.
I think that was the
Not easily.
Yeah.
No.
I honestly think that was sort of the problem.
I also think that Microsoft tried to do a bunch of things with their game creation in the beginning days of the Xbox One that wasn't necessarily what the Xbox game players were used to, which is a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
But
It got
with
a
the
new
missteps
generation.
that the absolutely, like we had this Project Spark, we had Rise, we had Sunset Overdrive,
They were trying to
Dead
get
Rising
those single
3.
They were
Yeah.
trying to get people different kinds of gamers into their...
Well, yes, into the ecosystem.
Actually,
what Microsoft
Sunset
was
Overdrive,
doing-
you can still play with people online. That's how there is a community. There's enough community that you can still go online and play with people.
And as soon as they see you, they friend you right away.
Yes, I have friends
Yeah.
from
And-
State of Decay, yeah.
What Xbox needs, I think you can categorize this by friends in like where you met them in. You can categorize like, hey, I met them in like Halo, I met them in here, so on and so forth. I think Xbox needs something like that. But usually you can see what your friends are playing at. But sometimes I forget where I met them. But that's a different topic too. There's another thing I was gonna mention, but I lost my thought again. That's normal. You can go on, Adam.
I was going to say the same thing. I think really at the end of the day, the development and the platform needs to evolve as well as the games themselves.
And that's where I think Game Pass comes in, because the point of Game Pass is to put certain games in there. They're like, well, it would sell well, it's a good game, but let's get more people in it, and let's say, do the math, let's say somehow they got 10 million subscribers in a year. That's a lot of revenue or profit that they can get out of that to fund a different game. Of course, royalties is under NDA and how much third party gets. But I'm sure it's fairly good as well to coast people to get in there.
Apparently it
thing
is because they're moving into it.
Oh yeah, it's just starting though. The fact that Microsoft's putting their first party titles in there is huge. What I noticed with Microsoft at E3, what they're trying to do is like, they're trying to pull a Sony, where Sony would announce a game, and every year for the next 3 to 4 years, they would show the game little by little by little. Microsoft was trying to do that, but it just was not working for them. Quantum Break was one. Andrew's playing.
Sorry, I'm like
Assassin's
battling
Creed
someone who
Origins.
won't die.
All the years, but like they announced Quantum Break, they announced other games, and it was like Quantum Break took like 4 years for it to come out. It was, in a lot of the Xbox community were like, where is this game? Now when Phil Spencer took over, they're doing this more of this, let's announce the game where it's soon. And now we're having that slump of perception-wise, where are the games? Like Sea of Thieves. When was it announced? 2 years ago?
3 years ago, I believe.
Was it 3? Okay.
I think it was 3.
Crackdown is one of those games too that's 4 or 5 years.
4 years? Yeah.
And but now what I'm noticing that they're just trying to announce games that are sooner than other than let's announce a game that's 4 years where it's just the CGI, it doesn't do anything by the time the game comes out. It's not even close to that. And that's where you get
Well,
a bunch
Phil
of
did say
downgrades.
he wouldn't do it anymore. It's just not working.
No, because it's just when something gets canceled, which over thousands of games get canceled in a year by one publisher, or I should say hundreds, that it just more devastating, it seems, perceptional wise.
And then with the release of Fallout 4 and Bethesda launching it, I believe it was 4 to 6 months after announcement.
Yeah, that was
The
huge
hype
for
that
that game.
created, it was huge.
Oh yeah, and I think they want to take that stance more
I think
than just
same with
Go
Cuphead.
on.
Like you saw Cuphead development start, you saw the announcements and the little trailers, and every E3 people could play the same demo and whatnot. And the communication on it became so negative due to the drawn out process.
yeah.
They've learned.
What was it? I think they're learning as they go because they're adapting to it. It's one of those things. It's sort of strange, but I think they're learning and realizing, let's just not announce a game, but let's just announce what's actually here within that year's time, maybe 2 years. And that's what we're seeing. So they have that
Yeah.
perception like, oh, there's still games. Well, there is. We have 3, in my opinion, big games: Sea of Thieves, State of Decay, and potentially Crackdown.
Can I take you down a deeper rabbit hole?
Sure.
Oh God.
So we had the old regime, Mr. Don Matrick, and our favorite friends over there at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So with their development of the Xbox One, I personally believe Xbox One was pushed out about a year earlier than they expected due to the announcement of the PS4.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with that, you had all the games in development for a year away from when it was actually launched. The old regime was pushing different kinds of games, trying to spread their wings, do certain things, including game sharing, family sharing, digital rights management, the digital ecosystem. All these things were developed 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So you had Scalebound in development, you had all these other games in development, and that had absolutely nothing to do with the new regime. So what the new regime has had to do is go back to square one.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And
They've had to learn, so we won't get that quickly. It's not going to come within the next year or so.
And Microsoft is, with the new CEO, I can't enunciate his name properly, so I
Satella
don't wanna-
Nadella?
Yes, thank you. He seems very genuine, and he understands the gaming side, how its importance of it, and the ecosystem in general. And yeah, they are learning, I believe, and they're a little bit more open. Like they're like, once Phil came in there, they're like, let's get fan feedback, and that was actually Major Nelson that said, let's just get fan feedback, and they made the feedback site out of that. Another thing that's that their inclusive idea is to get input from anyone, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. Actually, Sea of Thieves again is a great example. One of their developer teams, or I'm not sure which guy, he had an idea of, let's put people in a cannon and shoot them out. Craig Duncan was like, oh, that seems like a stupid idea, but they did it anyways. Yeah, I don't think he said stupid, but he seems silly. It's like, that won't be fun. But when they did it,
Until they
he's like,
tried it.
this is fun. Yes, but they're like, let's try and see if it works. And honestly, the canon thing makes sense when you play it. When you see it, you're like, nah. But when you play it, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
But I I know Andrew doesn't like going down the rabbit hole in this, but it's it's a different thing. Is what I'm noticing. It's like they're. I think I'll be really surprised in 2018, 2019. Because they're
Well,
trying to push more and more.
I like what they're doing for us as the gamers and consumers, not just only getting us involved, it's also listening to what we say, coming out with Game Pass, which is completely consumer friendly. It aids the developers as well, because at the end of the day, Game Pass stops the trade-in program, which is a big negative for a lot of people, especially the Sony fans. They love their physical copies. A lot of people do. It lets them trade it in. Whereas once it's traded in, the developers get zero of that income back. And that's what Microsoft was pushing for originally, which is probably why they got a lot of developers working on... oh, it's missing my mind right now.
Game Pass?
No,
Digital.
a lot of the games that were originally touted for the Xbox One, like Insomniac, is a Sony studio.
Yeah. Well, it's
To
their
pull
third
them over.
party.
Yeah,
Yes.
third party, but they primarily developed on the Sony platform.
Yes.
So they
And-
may have seen light in what Microsoft was trying to do and see the profits that could be kept in their pocket. It might have
Yes.
pulled them.
Yeah, I sorry to cut you off. No, I agree though. I heard a rumor a long time ago when they were able to do like game share, family share, whatever they called it then, and a few other things. And then when they had to dismantle all of that, their infrastructure, what happened to because their dev tools got basically ripped out. Games like Rise suffered a little bit more. Other launch games suffered. Basically, they had to launch. Battlefield 3 definitely did because their game tool, again, rumor, their game tools just got messed up so bad because it was designed around everything. So then they had to pull that, make new quick tools. Because I remember hearing and seeing a few devs talking about like, hey, like these new updates are even worse after they pulled everything, and they kind of put them back a little bit. And then Microsoft had to bring engineers in just so they can use the ESRAM properly, because their old tools apparently was able to do it almost automatically because it was a pain in the butt to code for. It's the reason why in the One X they took sort of the ESRAM out, because they wanted it easier to code for, make and pump games faster. They designed it so you. Sorry.
No,
Go on.
I was going to say that's exactly where Sony excelled and where Microsoft hit the wall.
Yes, and with the PlayStation 4, the OpenGL dev tools that they use was slightly superior than DirectX 11.1, but DirectX 12 just destroys it. You can use less CPU and get more out of it, more or less less GPU to sum it up and get more out of something. Fable Legends greatly increased. I was in the alpha in that, and the resolution increased dramatically, and overall, everything, the way it felt, the way it played, that game was more of a tech demo of DirectX 12, unfortunately.
Well, a lot of DirectX 12 was auto-generated. They didn't have to do a lot of the work. It was done in the API.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're seeing more games use that. Gears of War, for Halo, definitely. And quite a few other games. Now we're seeing it like, hey, like, some of these games are really pushing stuff. But, you know what we should do? Let's play something. We'll end this here. Until next time.
Absolutely.
Alright. And again, I am Corovirus. And Andrea, your username?
Core Candy.
And Adam.
And I'm TLTD Adam.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.